Hey, welcome back to another video done by yours truly regarding the Moai. This beautiful piece of machinery has a little bit of a learning curve. It's a slightly steep, but it is the same principle as all other printers, both FDM, MSLA, and this SLA. What we want to do today, and this is not a first step, but it is pretty early on in getting your print to work step, and that is to make this build plate right here. This is the easy level. This build plate as perpendicular to the vat, parallel to the vat as we can make it. We want to get a nice, perfectly 90-degree line from the vertical nature of the z-axis and the horizontal line of the vat. In order to do that, we're going to use a tool called a dial indicator. This is an inexpensive dial indicator I got on Amazon. It costs between $20 and $25 if you get it on sale. This particular one is a 1/2 inch travel, which means that this point goes in 1/2 inch. About. This is a clockwise brand. It's got a flat top here and a rounded tip here to not damage what it goes onto, and it moves very easily, gives very little resistance, and that flat top allows us to put it where we want and it'll sit just fine. So let's get this puppy started, and the first thing that we are going to do is pull out the big old chunky build plate. Here's mine, the block build plate, which I have modified. So this build plate is a hollow chunk of aluminum. That's why I call it chunky. But I put I cut holes in it so resin can flow through there, because it will, how do I want to put it? It will displace a lot of resin, and when you're using the vat, that means you can't fill it up as much. With it hollowed out like that, that'll allow more resin to rest without being displaced. So anyway, this is the build plate we are going to use because it has no variation and it is as horizontal as we can get compared to the X or the Z axis. So one thing that we are going to have to work off of it's the assumption that our workload is not perfect to the horizon. It is only perfectly 90 degrees to the travel of the z-axis. When you assemble it, there's slight variations and everything can move just a little bit. So the only thing we care about is this to this. Now, if you want it level to the ground, perfectly parallel to the ground, that's a different story. You can shim the feet if you want, and that'll allow your resin vat to not favor a side and not spill over that edge if you ever have any spillages. Whatever. So, first step, turn on your printer. Okay. So there, first step is done. Everything else from here on out is quite simple. We're going to go to our setup menu, and we're going to have to change the Z reset position from 1800 to 650. That is 1200 points of change, and that is going to take a while. Cue fast forwarding. There it is. 650. The only flaw of this beautiful monolithic black case is how easily it picks up dirt. I love my monolith. There. Okay. 650. Now then, with it at 650, we are going to double press. With fresh batteries. Boop. There it is. There's our 0 millimeters. And we could change that to inches if we cared, but we're going to stick with millimeters. And this is how it's going to read. And now you can see why it's called a 1/2 inch dial indicator. All right, back to millimeters. Back to our setup. 1, 2 points off, single click, back in, 2 points back, double click. And there we are. 0. Just to make sure we didn't mess that up by wobbling it left and right. Go back. 2 points off. Doesn't matter if you go up or down. Single click, 2 points back, double click. I'm just making sure it doesn't fall over when the vat tilts. All right, dial indicator is reading all zeros. That is going to be my starting position. Now I have already done this, so I know that it is relatively well leveled because it does not move in the life of your use. But if this was your first time setting this up, you want to set these relatively well positioned, and you can see I don't have a lot of lip here. There is just what looks like to be 1/8 of an inch or about 3 millimeters of clearance from this to this, the top of this to the top of this, and that's fine. You don't want too little compression where this doesn't move a lot, because that is going to be the focus of what we're doing. Those springs have to push up into the base plate with enough force that everything works. As you can see from fiddling around with that, I've already moved this. So there is some give and take on that. And the vat, when it goes up, it will pull up. When it goes up, it will pull this up with the force of the layer separation. So wiggling is fine. You want some play in there. This is okay. Resting at 0. You should already know what this is and where it goes. Underneath the vat are 4 bolts. These bolts change the level. And I will show you by doing exactly that. That is a 1/4 turn. 1/4 turn the other way. And as I turn it, I change it. But I'm going to push now. That is how sensitive it is. Now it is removed. So you can change the results by applying too much force in the wrong way. I'm not turning, I'm not turning, I'm still not turning. All right, so you saw it move. Now this is in 1/100th of a millimeter, so this is less of a variation. I'm still not turning. This is less of a variation than the actual print layer height. Again, this is that's counterclockwise. This is clockwise. It's hard to think about that because the bolts are facing this direction. So I'm turning the knob, but you know, you don't have to think about it too much because you just want to get it to 0. That's it. So turn it back, getting it to 0. And almost there. Bingo. Okay, there we go. I'm at 0. Now, let's go to another corner. And those are very tiny pulls. Okay. Setup, advanced settings, Z reset, 2 points, single click, 2 points back, double click. So there it is. All 4 corners. Oh, you're getting a reflection from me. Sorry about that. Okay, there it is. All 4 corners at 0s. Now, here's the funny thing. As you go around and adjust it, the original values changed. So let's get that reflection off of there. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to setup again. Advanced settings, Z reset, off by 2 points, single click. Put it back in 2 points, double click. So we're just going to check all corners, and when all corners are in 0.03 tolerance within each other, you're good to move on. So you'll notice with this patterning that as I get to this side of the vat, it's usually off by those 3 points. This stays consistently at 0. This consistently moves plus or minus 3 points. That is why I'm telling you, you'll never get it perfectly 0. The reason for that being is the vat tilt itself. Every time it tilts down and goes back up, it's off by a little bit, just a tiny bit, less than a single layer height of variation, 0.03 millimeters off every single time. So there's not much you could do about that. It's just the nature of the way it's designed. So really the only thing you could do is just accept that tolerance. All right, so here is my standard vat. Nothing fancy. This is the side of the vat, and as you can see, I've got no shim on here. When I put this into the machine, come with me real quick and you'll see this. There is a gap right there. Same as on the other side. What is this gap, you may ask? Well, that's just a variation in tolerance for when you pull it out, giving it enough room to move around. Now, while you're printing, that can be problematic as it may shift your entire print. Now, it's not likely, but those motions are very minuscule, but it can happen. I mean, I could do it right now. See? Before your print is cured, it's a little gummy. So how thick is that space? Well, I've already measured it, and it is about 80 points, which is 80 thousandths of an inch or 2 millimeters. This is styrene. Focus, please. This is just plain old styrene. 80-point styrene or 2mm styrene. I just cut it to size because what I want to do is I want to shim the sides with this piece. That is simply done by cutting a thin strip like this and leaving enough room for the sides. Specifically right here, you see this part right here? That is the lower vat, that is the upper vat. I only want to put this on the upper vat like that. So I've already done that with one, and I'm going to do it with this second one. And here's my common use vat. There we go. This is my common use vat, the one that I just got done using and I'm cleaning out. And you can see I already have that strip of styrene on the side. All I did was adhere it with CA glue, or my favorite brand of Starbond Medium, because it's thick enough that it doesn't run everywhere and you don't end up wearing it on your fingers. Given that styrene is very effective at creating shims so that you do not have a lot of movement in there, there's one other shim that I put in here for that same purpose. Now let me show it to you. I'm going to move the camera up a little bit. Whee! And now I'm going to remove this block plate. This is the upgraded Z-axis, and I think it's a little shy right here. So I put one of those 80-point pieces of styrene, or 2mm styrene, right here to push the vat forward a little bit. That way I can control the amount of overhang I have. Now that is all up to you, but that is how I get it centered on the inside of the vat. Getting everything centered to this, not to this, gives you more printing room, because usually as it is right now, if you center everything to this, you're going to get about 115 millimeters of printable surface area favoring one side or the other. Welcome to my very messy project desk. I need one vat, one bit of glue. Here's my vat. Here's my glue. A simple pair of scissors. And of course, the styrene. Squareness and perfectionism are not needed on this. Eyeballing about half. That's how close I wasn't. Look how far off I was. That's terrible. Let's make it a little bit more even. All right. So here's the idea. I'm going to put it there. Right there. See a little bit better? Right there. Above the lower part, on the walls itself. In order to get that started, this is optional, but if you have old used styrene like mine that's just scraps, this is helpful. I'm just going to use a little bit of sandpaper. That'll remove finger oils and other problems. Give it a line. Give it a squirt. Don't answer the doorbell. Just to fix it in place. That's all it takes. I'm going to do that to the other side, and we'll be ready to start using the vat. Given the way that CA glue works, cyanacrylate glue, and its accelerator, that is it. These are cured now. They're ready to go. There's nothing else I need to do. So let's stick it back in the vat. And now it moves a lot less. Now that that's done, I get to go through the joyous transition of putting this back. Now, do you remember where it was before? Probably should have mentioned that you should write that down. It's okay. It's over 1800. I'll look that up and get it exactly there. Usually my setting's around 1865. Oh, and by the way, if you do this too fast, it won't register the number changes and you will actually end up slowing yourself down. I've also seen people, and have done this myself, pull this out. Okay, well, it doesn't want to pull out. Pull it out and stick a drill onto it and turn it with a drill. Now that works, but the downside is you end up wearing out this knob faster. And trust me, you don't want to do that. I've already made a video on replacing the knob. And unless you want to do that yourself or buy one from P.O. Poly, trust me, don't stick a drill onto it. Okay, there it is. Before I double click, we're going back to this. I need gloves, gloves, gloves. I need gloves. Look at these cheap things. The glove crackle. Uh-oh. Ah, man. Okay, so just to let you know, heat ruins glue. So here lately, that's what I want. Here lately, my LED strip has been coming off. Look at that poor puppy. I mean, it's still tacky, it still sticks, just been coming off. Oh well, one thing to address at a time. All right, so now that this free floats in here is good. Now, if I got my Z reset position wrong, this is just going to push down. That's okay. So now I am ready to double click, and I shall do so now. Oof. Why did I stick my finger there? So I can feel if this sank down, which you can see it did. I need to raise that Z reset position. All right, I didn't feel it at all. I'm giving it a visual inspection. And now that I have that shim in the top here, I can see that my FEP vent holes on the acrylic right there are centered almost perfectly. Here, come watch this. Look at that. That is almost perfect. That means I'm going to use the entire build volume from front to back, but unfortunately, the left to right is off. Unfortunately, the left to right is off. That is just the nature of this thing and the FEP, and I lose about 5 millimeters left to right. Now that we are in, that is a tradition I do because I used to do this, or I am used to doing this with resin in there, and you want to make certain that there is no resin causing it to lift up. All right, pick a corner, tighten. Pick the opposite corner, tighten. So I keep tightening it. This is another old habit in precision engineering. I get it to the point where it just catches, and I just feel it get resistant, and I tap it down. Oh, doing this blind. Come on. There we go. Now I can tighten it the rest of the way. Cool. That's it. We are ready for resin. We are ready for printing. Now I am going to power cycle the unit. This is Seriatech Sculpt. Only thing that I have to do to use this with the same G-code files is lower the laser power. I was using Peel Poly Tough. Laser power was approximately 58, if you notice that in the firmware settings. I am uncertain if I should have this at 50 or 52. Let's test at 52, because that is what I'm used to having it at. Alright, my G-code's already in there. Print. I want to do fence rail. Okay. Now we're going to do nothing. We're going to watch. I'm going to try something I've never done before. I'm going to put this on time lapse. Welcome back to my shop, and this is we're closing up the video now, and this is a kind of post-freezing, post-flood chaos. My shop is just now back to normal, and this is the first Monday I've been able to get into my shop since the flood. So one of the things that I did was print something else using PO Poly Tough, and I have been, well, cleaning it and getting them ready. One of the goals that I have been doing with the Moai is making mechanically accurate prints for mechanical assembly. And for this instance, this is Cyberpunk 2077's Malorian Arms Johnny Silverhand's gun. And I wanted to get this to be mechanically accurate for assembly. Which one does this use? This one. And these different parts all go together like this to create the final result, just like that. Well, that is a long-standing project of mine. I want to get the Moai mechanically accurate so you can put in some dimensions and start printing away. Oh, and a trick is that given that shrinkage, if you print a normal piece, you want to print the cosmetic piece 1.5% larger than you normally would. The shrinkage will allow you to match it with other FDM prints so you can have a mixed media result. Anyway, real quick, it's time to glove up. This is a new device that I got. I've been cleaning my prints by hand for a very long time, and I've just now gotten to use this, and it does a very, very good job. So without further ado, let's give it some use. And I will use this one batch of alcohol until the prints come out tacky. My giant hands. This is quite reasonably my open air area. If I haven't built my table yet, but I'm going to make a little dedicated space for this. But something like this needs to be in a well open aerated area. Well, later on I'll open the garage when I'm not recording. So for this real quick, I will do this. This is the print we watched the time lapse on. And now it is time to pull it off this plate, dip it in here. There is one of two options. You can remove it from the supports, or you can put it in with the supports. I have found that some resins do better when you put it in without the supports. This is one of those resins. It's because it's a DLP resin, it comes back rather rigid, so you don't need a lot of extra support. Blip. Seeing how rigid that was, I should have used clippers to pull that bottom part off. Oh well. I'll scrape that off later. This is going to take approximately 5 minutes. I'm going to turn this on. Now I'm going to turn it off. So this is a sonic bath. It's got a temperature adjustment on here. I know you cannot see these dials, but I can take it up to 50 degrees Celsius. I'll turn this so you can see it better. Once I turn this on, one thing that you will notice is that this bath will get warm just because of the nature of the motor. On some resins, being warm is a huge advantage. All right, 5 minutes. Done. It was at 19 degrees and now it is at 26. It's quite an increase. Not quite above body temperature. Once that thing gets above 30, that's above body temperature. That turned out pretty good. Wonderful hair. Wonderful smooth lines. Wonderful repeatability. And the alcohol has made certain that everything's come out from between the grooves so that you can see the detail. These are already cured. Thing is with Pia Poly Tough, when you get thin, it is flexible. It doesn't snap, it bends. So before you cure, other resins are like that too. So take that with a grain of salt. If I'm going to put it down like this, I can guarantee you that's probably going to warp a little bit. Okay, it's about time to start thinking about opening the garage door to get this to ventilate a little bit. And yes, I'm wearing gloves and I'm still wiping it off because I don't want to transfer the resin from device to device. And as long as this is covered, that alcohol will sit in there. My glove broke. That alcohol will sit in there and evaporate slowly, but not very quickly. So you can leave it there for a couple of days before you use it again. It should be fine. New glove, new towel. Okay, so this is pretty much an open air area, which means that, well, I've got no enclosed container. There's my UV light. And it will actually work, even though it is far away. It doesn't get as an intense UV source, but I can walk away and come back 30 minutes, not really think about it. These are not projects that I'm in a hurry with. This is just, well, for your enjoyment and education. Well, that's the end of the video. If you have something you would like me to do specifically to help show you how the Moai works, leave a comment below and I will do so. Until then, ta-ta. Back to work.